Let's now hear some of the key points from the victory speech delivered by Donald Trump at Republican campaign headquarters in Florida.
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African-American, Hispanic-American, Asian-American, Arab-American, Muslim-American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment. We're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing. Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness.
Dov Zakheim is a senior advisor at Center for Strategic and International Studies. He's now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Zakheim, welcome to the program, and thank you very much for making time for us. This is a big deal, not only for the world, but for ordinary Americans. Do you feel like there were certain fundamentals that were ignored during the coverage of the elections during the campaign period that made Trump's victory unfathomable, to say the least?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Thank you for having me. I think that the major newspapers, the major media are so dominated by what are called the elites that they simply didn't understand that the majority of Americans, whether they're white or black or Asian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever, simply do not see the world the way these elites do. Let me give you a concrete example of that. Mm-hmm. A major journalist in one of the most important newspapers in the United States wrote today that Trump was very clever because he got white men away from their video games to vote. Think about that. Away from their video games? Is that how you look at Trump voters? Mm-hmm. People resented that. Other people have noticed that toward the end of the campaign, Trump came out with an advert that essentially was about transgenders. Mm-hmm. And he said, is this for he, him, she, her, or you? Now, the fact is that the average so-called soccer mom who lives in the suburbs is more concerned about her daughter playing against a boy who is now a girl in sports, which, as you know, America, like many countries, is sports crazy, than about abortion. The Democrats simply lost touch with ordinary people. And you see that because reporting is that more women actually came out to vote for Trump than the last time. There were almost twice as many African Americans voting for Trump as from the last time. And so what you're seeing is that the Democratic Party has to understand that coming across, not just on economics, where the petrol prices are higher, where homes are hard to buy, where people therefore support tariffs, people don't want to get involved in wars, and of course, immigration. People aren't against immigration like the Democrats said about Republicans. They're against illegal immigration, which is very different. We're a nation of immigrants, for goodness sake. Mm-hmm. Look how many Indian Americans there are now. They come legally. It makes a difference. The Democrats totally lost track of that. And I think that's ultimately what hurt Harris.
It's interesting that you mention what really did hurt Harris because she's not really considered defeat as we speak. We are expecting her to give a speech. But what do you think, or where do you think the Democrats really got it wrong, in your honest opinion?
Yes, as I said, what they fundamentally got wrong were three things. The economy, instead of focusing on climate change or on clean and green technologies, which are important, but they focused on that. They didn't focus enough on bread and butter issues, which, as I say, are housing and petrol prices. Most Americans drive to work. So that was number one. Immigration was another mistake. Harris, of course, was lumbered with the Biden disaster on immigration until toward the very end. That hurt. And finally, a variety of cultural issues. For instance, we have a thing called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which essentially is a function of left-wing identity politics. That does not work. It works against Asian Americans in particular, I would say, against white males in particular. And so those are the sorts of things that ordinary Americans resented. And what you saw today, or yesterday rather, was a great American turnout and a clear victory for Trump. This was not even close, as your correspondents have pointed out. This was not close. He's taken, it looks like, just about every one of the swing states. And as a result, there's a message here that Americans are decent people. They're moderate. They may be moderate left or moderate right, but they don't like the progressive agenda. It had very little to do with Harris's race. After all, they elected a black man president twice, not all that long ago. Right. It had to do with what Democrats seem to the ordinary American to stand for.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I've been talking to Mr. Dov Zakheim. He's a senior advisor at Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you, Mr. Zakheim, for all your insights and for talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.